Hello, Craftin' buddies. It's Late Night Lori coming to you on Tuesday, July 29th. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States, coming to you from Wisconsin. Let me get my device set up so I can see if anybody joins me live, which is always fun. Oh, let me turn my volume down. That way I can follow any comments too. All right, so tonight we're going to get a little bit boxy, but first I found out today that there is going to be an in color sale that starts August 5th. I haven't looked through the whole announcement yet, so I'm not sure exactly what's going to be included in that sale. But it sounds like designer series paper, probably cardstock. I know inks for sure. So any of these in color items should be on sale, and the sale is going to be 15% off. So it does say the sale is applicable only to select 2025 to 2027 in color products, and there may be some exclusions. Okay, so tonight I thought I would do a little bit with the 2025 to 2027 in color 6x6 designer series paper. Now I've used some of these before, and my favorite, you might be able to tell, has turned out to be Timid Tiger, because there is like close to no Timid Tiger left. And it looks like my video is distorted again. I don't know why it does that, because on my filming device it looks good, but then on my tablet it looks distorted. Crazy. But it is what it is. I just tried to adjust the zoom. I don't know if that'll help at all, but I'm going to keep going because hopefully it's all good. Oh, and now you can see part of my mess up here, but you know, I've fully disclosed that I am a messy stamper. So if you want to craft along with me, you need to find a piece of your basic thick white cardstock, or you can use another cardstock. It should be heavy enough. And you want it to be 5¼ inches by 11 inches. So if you take the normal cardstock, rather than, you know, cutting or scoring it at 4¼ just cut it at 5¼ and you'll already have the 11 inches, because it's 8½ by 11, of course. And then you'll want another piece, maybe, that's 1¼ inches by 8½ inches. That might turn out to be a belly band if you decide you want a belly band. We'll see. And then you also need some designer series paper. I am using, I should add on here, you need one sheet of 6x6 or a piece that's 3 5/8 by 9 1/8. So I think we'll, I'll cut through it twice, perhaps. We'll see how it goes. But those are the items that you will need. So I'm going to get this out of the way because I am actually going to use this piece. But I think I'm just going to, for the sample, I'm going to cut here. All right. So if we get our trimmer out, and look at these, I found these that go with the Timid Tiger piece. They're mints, they're delicious. All right. So welcome, for those of you that are joining me, feel free to chime in. So the first thing we're going to do is, I have my piece cut at 5¼ and this is 11 inches. All right, so here you can see we're at 11 inches there and 5¼ here. Now you might have noticed on my trimmer I have a little white strip here, and that's just some copier paper that I used glue dots to put it on there, so that when I put my papers in here, it makes these numbers much easier for me to read. Just a suggestion. Okay, so we want to get our cutting blade out of the way now, because all we're going to do from here is score. Okay, so we've got 5 1/4 by 11. So on this long end, we're going to start scoring. And I will show you a template later so that you can take a screenshot of it if you want the directions, the measurements. So we are going to score this at 3 3/4. All right. Again, don't cut. You want to use your lighter blade, the scoring blade. So we're going to go 3 3/4. We're going to go 5 1/4. We're going to go 9 inches. And we're going to go 10 1/2. All right. And then we're going to turn it 90 degrees. And we're going to score this side at 1 1/2. And then we're going to scoot it over to 3 3/4, which means you've just got 1 1/2 over here as well. All right. So it's an even 1 1/2. So you could flip it or whatever you want to do, whatever's easier for you. So that's going to be 3 3/4. All right, and I'm done with my scoring, my trimmer for right now. And we are going to make a box. So I'm just going to start folding all of my score lines. And then, you know, boxes are pretty basic. If you've made one, you kind of have the idea. I will give you a couple of what I think are helpful tips for how I like to put mine together. So what I'm going to do here is where I've got the mountain, I am going to, for this section, I'm going to cut just to the left of the mountain, because I'm going to miter cut off that mountain from the what I would call the tab side. Okay. And then on this one, I'm just going to go a little bit to the right of the mountain. And then I'm going to miter in on that tab side. Okay. And you don't have to miter a lot, just a little. But I want this edge to be pretty straight, because that's going to be the bottom edge of the box. All right. And then I can go ahead and trim this one. Again, I'm going to go to the left of the mountain. And I'm going to leave this for right now. I'm going to just turn this around, and I'm going to mirror that same thing. So this time I'm going to the right of the mountain. And then I'm going to miter in. Mama Juju, welcome. We're getting a little boxy tonight. And then I'm going to the left of the mountain. So the piece that I'm working on, to get you caught up if you're interested, it's 5 1/4 by 11. And I use thick basic white for Stampin' Up! Cardstock, or you can use cardstock of your favorite color. All right. And then I scored it at 3 3/4, 5 1/4, 9 inches, and 10 1/2. Okay. So you're getting caught up. And then I'm cutting these tab pieces basically. So I folded everything. You don't really have to burnish it right now. It'll be fine, because we're making a box, so it's not like it has to be really crisp like a card. But all I do then is I'm going to the left of the mountain, to the right of the mountain, and then doing a little miter cut on what will be the tab. To the right of the mountain, to the left of the mountain, you know, if we turn it around, and miter those tabs. Now when we come here, I cut this one already, and I'm going to cut this one so that I'm to the right of the mountain. So basically my long edges, I want to be straight with none of the ridge from the score line. Hopefully that makes sense. Now I didn't do score lines here, but I want you to go out maybe about 1/2 inch. And we're just gonna freehand a cut here, just for this first section, all right? And we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. And if you've made a box, this is probably making sense already, okay? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut just this top 1/2 inch and just this 1/2 inch. And again, I'm cutting off the score line basically. And here I'm just gonna cut this straight here and straight here, okay? And here we can miter ever so slightly. You can modify that later. If you miter it too much, your lid won't stay in because this is going to be our lid, okay? And this is going to be our box then. We're going to fold these. Well, I guess we're going to fold this and this and this, all right? So this is going to be our box. Very basic, but it gets better. All right, so all of these are little scripts that I don't need. Let me get rid of that debris. And we're gonna need either a 6x6 piece of designer series paper or a piece of designer series paper that's 3 5/8 by 9 1/8. All right, and we'll get to that in a minute. So I have, this is current in color designer series paper, and this is an old piece. So this I've got the 3 3/4, or 3 5/8 rather. I was gonna say it's not quite 3 3/4. And that's by 9 1/8. All right. So these are just, they're on hold for right now. Hi, Vicki. You're not interested in making, that's fine. That's fine. What I'm going to do now is, this is gonna be the inside of my box. All right. And I just wanna put some tear tape down, okay? And I am going to put it just on here and here. I don't need any up on this part, all right? So this is basically going to end up being the front of our box. And because it's the front of our box, I want these tabs to be to the back, if that makes sense. So when I fold this up, I want my tear tape on the outside because I don't want these seams to show on the front, okay? And when I do my boxes, I make this a middle layer, all right? So this is gonna get folded up first, then these, then this. Because then whatever I put in the little box does not get caught on these tabs. Hopefully that makes sense, all right? So let me finish putting my tear tape here. All right, and then I'm going to flip this over. This is the side that we're going to put our designer series paper on shortly. And I just want to put near the top, so this is my lid, so this is the top, just on the outer part, like a 1/2 inch or so, a little bit of tear tape. Yeah, I still like to make some of these things, like to leave in the mailbox for my mail carrier. When my UPS guy comes with my Stampin' Up stuff, sometimes I'll meet him out there and I'll give him a little treat box. You should see his face light up. It doesn't matter what it is. He is so happy when I give him something as a thank you for keeping my boxes safe. And I figure if I keep him happy, he'll keep my boxes safe. Plus, I do still have young enough grandchildren that would enjoy these. All right. So I am not going to put this together yet because I have found it's easier to put my designer series paper on while it's flat. Okay. You can do it when it's all put together. It would work. It's just not as convenient. So let's move over to our designer series paper. Okay. I am going to do this 2 different ways. All right. So let's start with this 3 5/8 piece by 9 1/8. And we are going to, let's see. So we've got 3 5/8. I have to look at my instructions just to make sure I get everything right. We're going to go 1 3/8, This is a box that I designed, and I'll show you what I designed it for. Now I need to cut. Your mail carrier loves to stop and chat. That would be perfect. Just give them a little treat. All right, so 1 3/8, 2 1/8, 1 3/8 again. Now, I could have done 1 3/8 and 1 3/8 just so I was doing the same thing. But if you have a design that you want to flow around the box, you want to cut them small, larger, small, okay? If you have directional DSP, like this one, this is old from several years ago. This piece was about, oh, I thought I could use this. But when I go to cut it, my flowers are all going to be sideways to go on my box. So that doesn't work, okay? Now, I could certainly trim it in the right direction, but I would probably have more waste, okay? So I'm just going to get rid of that piece. I just brought that in for kicks. All right, so since I have these done, I'm going to go ahead and attach them just to get the loose pieces out of the way. So if we've got the top of the box, the one that we cut down to the smallest, that's on the right, this is going to end up being the front. So I'm going to go ahead and attach these on the front, knowing that this far edge is going to be the top of the box. So let's just glue these. And I hope I'm not being too remedial here or too elementary. But I figure if there's people that haven't done these before, they might not understand when they're coming up for the replay. So this should just be a nice little narrow border of maybe about a 1/16 of an inch all the way around. If you need to conserve your DSP, actually I didn't really want to put this paper on, but since I'm doing this, I'll show you how to cut the 6x6 as well. All right, so we'll put these on, and then you can see how my pattern trails around the box. All right. Part of doing the boxes is you really have to visualize or pay attention to how it's going to look when it's all buttoned up. Okay. So do I have, there we go. I want my pattern to follow around my treat box here. Okay. All right. So now those are on there. I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to take this back now, and I'm still at my 3 5/8 here. So this is my up and down side. All right. So this is what's going to fit here. So I'm going to turn it, and this will end up being like your 4 1/4-ish. So I'm going to go 2 1/8 because I need 2 of them that are 2 1/8. And I'm going to go ahead and glue this on. All right. And again, this is going to be, if it was a directional, you would want to make sure that the top is going toward the lid. Okay. For mine, it doesn't really matter. All right. Doesn't really matter. Although, if I was wrapping around the design, I don't think I kept it on there. It'll wrap around on this side. So I would go like this. All right. This side's not going to match. So you just kind of figure out what looks best, if it matters. Because if they're looking at the front of the box, they're not going to be looking at the back of the box at the same time. But they can see the sides at the same time. All right. So just a thin layer of glue. I don't need it super thick. If you don't like the liquid glue because you think it's too messy, you're using too much glue. Just an observation. But I do like the liquid glue because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. All right. So those are all done, and I don't have any real mess. All right. So then we're going to go, I need 2 1/8 by 1 3/8. So here I'm left with 2 1/8. All right. And this was my 3 5/8. All right. So if I turn it, I've got my 2 1/8. So I'm going to do the 2 1/8 up and down here. and I'm going to go 1 3/8. So between the 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch, that medium-sized eyelash, basically. All right, and then I'm going to keep it in this orientation, and I'm going to cut another piece that's just 3/8 of an inch. Now, normally when I have just a little piece like that, if it's less than 1.5 inches, I usually use this side of my trimmer. This is my waist, just this little piece. Now you could keep that to cut out a shape to put a tag or something on here. I'm not going to keep that. All right. So this piece is going to go here, and you can see how my design continues. All right. And yes, I did, this is an original creation. I had a specific treat in mind that I designed the box to go around my treat, or for the treat to fit in the box, and I will show you that in just a minute. All right, and then this piece is going to go probably on this side. So we're just going to put it on there because it's not going to match up. Not a big deal. Mama Juju, are you watching or are you following along? Are you crafting at the same time? Giving a go at making a box? The one thing that I did forget about on this one is we might miter this just a little bit, but I would say wait to miter it until you see how your box fits. All right. So I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to show you how it is with a 6x6 piece of paper. All right. And again, we're not going to have very much waste. So I'm going to go to 3 5/8, and I'm going to turn it. I'm going to do my 1 3/8, 1 3/8. I'm going to do my 2 1/8, 1 3/8, 1 2 3/8. All right, and then this we're gonna probably not need, so these would go here. Again, depending on your design, the top is gonna go to that end. All right, and then we're gonna have 3 5/8. So we're gonna just turn this one. So if you've got a directional design, it's going to make a difference. You might need 2 pieces. All right. And we're going to do this at 2 1/8. So that will be this piece. We've got that extra piece. And then we're going to go 2 1/8. We'll go 2 1/8. Here is an extra piece. And then we're going to go 1 3/8. So there's a lot of repeating dimensions because this is 1 3/8 for 1 2 3 4 pieces. This is 1 3/8 that way. Yes, there. So not for these. This is 1 3/8 here, 1 3/8, 1 3/8. All right. So here's this piece. And then I could just turn this around, and then I can go to the 3/8 over here because it's just easier for me somehow. All right. And that piece will go there. All right. So these on a 6x6, that's all the extra I have. And if you have a 12x12 sheet and you're using a 3 5/8 by 9 1/8, this is all you have left. So pretty much, oh, cool. So you're crafting along, but you're doing a different thing. That's cool. So this would be the waist on a 6x6, but you can use some of this on your belly band if you wanted to make a belly band. But then on that 3 5/8 by 9 1/8, you just have this one little square. All right. So those are pieces we don't need. Now I can go ahead and get rid of my trimmer at this point. And I'm going to get rid of these pieces here. I'll save those because this is an in color, and I'll make another one. Okay. And I'm going to get rid of those so I don't mix them up. All right. So let's go ahead and put our finished side down. and we're gonna go ahead and form this, the box, all right? So these sides are gonna come in. I'm gonna go ahead and use my, take your pick tool, and I'm gonna take the backing off of these pieces. And we're gonna fold this up, and we're gonna bring these up. Now you could make those shorter if you wanted to. It's just not worth my effort, all right? So these edges that something could catch on are on the outside. They're not gonna be on the inside of my box. So anything I go to slide in the box is not gonna get hung up. You know how sometimes that happens? You're making a gift card holder or something, and the overhang where you've used it to do your adhesive, the stuff gets hung up on. That's not going to happen here because of how I put my box together. Okay. And then what we can do with this piece is the same thing. Take these little strips off. Whoops. Get it in the garbage. I just knocked the lid off my little mug. You like my mug? My chickens. I'm a chicken mom. So a friend of mine gave me that. She made me this gorgeous chicken quilt too. And then I got myself this little mug. I don't even remember where we were, but my girls make me breakfast. That makes me happy. All right, so sorry for that little interruption there. All right, we'll take this one off. And then these pieces come along on the outside so that the seams are to the back of the box. So this is the lid going down. This is gonna be the front of our box. These wings are gonna go to the back, okay? And then you can use your hand if your hand is small enough. You can use take your pick tool. You can use a bone folder, whatever helps get that stickum stuck. All right. And then, did I forget to take off? I did. So remember those little pieces of tear tape we put in here? I forgot about those. I haven't made this for a while. That is just to hold this edge in there. All right, so I'm just going to fold these back. I can still peel those off. Maybe. There we go. It's coming. All right. Normally I would say peel those off first. My mistake. All right, so then when we tuck these in, we can tuck this in, and if everything fits snug, you don't have to miter this little piece at all. Okay? And mine fits pretty good because I put that extra piece of designer series paper on there, so it kind of helps keep it snug. All right, so here's our little box. All right, so with this particular paper, Stampin' Up! Had this Monstera leaf, and I could do a little punch out here. I don't have to do a belly band, but you could put a partial leaf here so that there's a tab. Like I would cut this off and put some of it here so that if they lifted, why don't we just do that? I'm gonna go ahead and just cut this like right here, and then we'll just punch out another one. All right, so that just gives a little bit of a tab to lift that up. So we wouldn't really need the designer series paper. It's kind of up to you, but since we're talking about it, we're just gonna put it on here. You can decide what you wanna do on the one you made. And I can pull out a couple of the ones that I did a while back. So if we set this up a little bit, you can still see some of the designer series paper. It looks like it belongs there, all right? And then when we tuck this in, that lid is not going to pop open. So let me get my punch again, and we'll punch another one. And again, this is old paper. I just pulled it out for the sake of playing around with it. And then we're going to do, I probably should have brought a different color, but, and see, I was going to, with the other one I was making, let me see if I can find that one here. I had one with Timid Tiger. Let me close this for a second. You can kind of visualize with me. I had one ready to go with Timid Tiger. Oh, one of my pieces, here it is. So what I was going to do was with the tag, I was going to do some Timid Tiger on here and make a little tag for this, and then use this. It says, "Don't worry, eat sweets." And I was just going to cut those apart and put them on a tag. So you can visualize that, but that was my idea there. So you can kind of see maybe better with the Timid Tiger how all of the parts and pieces are trimmed. Okay, but I'll lay out my template in just a minute. So let me get these out of the way. And we're just going to, we could do this like, you know, just put it on here even. Take our bone folder, maybe give this a little curve. Put a couple of dimensionals in the middle so that it stands up. Like so. And then you've got a little dimension to that. And then if we did our little "Don't worry, eat sweets." This is from the Spooky Sweet. And then my hibiscus is from the Notes and Totes. All right, so if we put this on here, that's kind of fun. Then we can just kind of either cut this into two little sayings. And I didn't want that comma there just because I didn't want it there. Now you could wrap a ribbon around here, or you could add some twine. This could go somewhere like that. Now let me show you the treat that goes inside. I don't know if you have these available by you, but I get these at our Costco. I used to be able to get them in the store, but the last time I wanted them, I had to order them online. So if you go to Costco.com or whatever, look up Milano cookies. And these are, well, let me get this out of the way. So I designed my little box to fit my little pack of cookies. And that's that. Okay, so obviously you could bling it up as much or as little as you want. Let me go grab these other couple of ones that I made a couple of years ago so you can see what they look like. So I made a Christmassy themed one. Now these are good for little craft fairs too. And on this one, I mitered these edges and the lid slides down further than I want it to or pops up. So try it without mitering the edges on the flap first. See what works best for you. And if I would have put designer series paper on here, that would have taken up some of the slack. So, you know, that might have worked good too. And then this one I think was my favorite. I don't remember what the name of this paper was. But these were 6x6 papers, and we had some cute little punches with all of the little autumn leaves. And autumn is my favorite season, so this was perfect for me. All right. So I had a little leaf on there with just a little tab and a little, you know, a little finger or a thumb punch out. You might want to do that before you put it together if you want to do a little notch like that. All right. So these are all using old paper, and like I said, this is the one that I was actually going to make tonight. And then I could put these on the front of the package or on the top of the package as little treats. There's some that say summer on them. Hello, summer. These are just little buttermints. Like yummy, right? I got them from Amazon. All right. That's all I have for you for tonight. Super simple. Oh, I wanted to show you my little template. If you want to do a screenshot, let me move these out of the way again. Let's do this side first. This is my little cheat sheet. It's a little worn. All right. But if you take a screenshot, you've got all those little dimensions and some instructions too. Like this says create a notch with snips, punch, or a die after you add your DSP. So you do your DSP first and then do a punch or whatever. The paper direction goes this way when you're putting your DSP on, okay? This one says to adhere this flap last. This one will go in the middle. And this one says keep the flap to the inside, tear and tape on the other side. All right. So I kind of put little notes on there so whoever was making it would be able to understand it. And I did this for one of our team meetings with my upline, and this was my swap a while back, but maybe I should revisit it. I know one of the gals tells me every once in a while, oh, I made that box again that you gave us. It was so cool. And then here are the, if you want to do a screenshot of this as well, these are the dimensions of the DSP. Okay, so here we've got 2 1/8 by 3 5/8. This is A and B because you want to cut 2. So you're cutting an A and you're cutting a B. So that's noted on here. I've also got a note here to watch directional prints when adhering your DSP. And then this one is the same 1 3/8 inch by 3 5/8 inch. So these two are the same. All right. So hopefully you like this. It's pretty easy if you just need some quickie treats, even like little stocking stuffers. You know, you could put, I don't know, maybe some little lip balms or anything in there. You could decorate these cute for Halloween. There's a lot you could do with them. So that's all I have for tonight, ladies. Thanks for popping in. Thanks for chit-chatting with me a little bit. And Mama Juju, enjoy making your, was it a book you were working on? I have to look at the notes here. Crafting an altered book. Okay, so that's all I have. So thanks for popping in again. Until next time, happy crafting.